So we're in a short series of lessons. I'm sharing with you about death, resurrection, and what happens when a person dies. And so we've seen from the Bible that right now, everybody who has truly believed on the Lord, from the beginning, from the time of Adam until now, they're in heaven with Jesus. And they're waiting for the last day. And everybody who has died, who has not been a believer in the Lord, and they've rejected the knowledge that God has given them about Him, they're in a place called Hades. It's hot, it's fiery, it's full of pain and suffering. It's not a good place. And so everybody is waiting for the last day. And in our last lesson, we learned that Jesus is going to come back in the sky, coming from heaven in the sky down to the earth. He's going to have His angels with Him. There's going to be a trumpet sound. There's going to be the voice of the archangel. And everybody from heaven are going to come back with Him. And there's going to be a resurrection. And in the next lesson, I'll talk a little bit more about the resurrection. But I want to just read to you, really just read and make a few comments as I read from Matthew 24. Because while Jesus was on earth, He told His disciples that I'm only here for a short time, 3.5 years. And I will go back to our Father in heaven. But don't worry, I will eventually come back again, and we're going to solve everything. And so in Matthew 24, verse 1, then Jesus went out and departed from the temple. And His disciples came up to show Him the buildings of the temple. They said, "Do you not see all of these things?" And Jesus said, "I tell you, not one stone will be left upon another, and shall not be thrown down." His disciple says, "Now, Lord, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" So the disciples asked Him two questions. They showed Him the temple. "Wow, isn't this a beautiful temple, Lord?" And Jesus said, "You know what? There's going to be a day when this temple is torn down." So a little bit later they said, "Lord, can you tell us a little bit more about this temple? And by the way, also, what are the signs of your second coming and the end of the age?" And so in Matthew 24, Jesus is explaining two things. In 70 AD, 70 years after Jesus was born, the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans. They came in and they just totally destroyed it. The Babylonians destroyed it about 600 BC, but now the Romans destroyed it again. This is history. And so the things that Jesus is saying in Matthew 24, some of it is about what will happen in 70 AD, about the destruction of the temple. But some of it is also about what will happen right before He returns. And so it's interesting just to read. "And Jesus answered and said to them, 'Take heed that no one deceives you.'" So, number one, be careful that you're not deceived, because there will be many who come in my name, saying that I am the Christ, and they will deceive many. "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all of these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." So remember, Jesus spoke these words about 33 AD. It's almost 2,000 years already. So there's been a lot of history for different things to happen. But Jesus said there's going to be false teachers and false Christs. They're going to come during this 2,000-year period and try to deceive people. There's going to be many wars, but don't worry about it. The end is not here yet. "See to it that you are not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famine and pestilences and earthquakes in various places. All of these are the beginning of sorrows." Just the beginning. Wars, earthquakes, famine, through all of these 2,000 years, all over the place. "Then they will deliver you up to tribulation." They will deliver you Christian, and they will kill you. "And some of you will be hated by all nations for my sake, because you are a Christian. And many will be offended, and they will betray." Christians will betray one another, and they will hate one another. "Then many false prophets will rise and deceive many. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. People will love one another less and less. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. And here's a key verse. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached to all of the world as a witness, to all of the nations, and then the end will come. And so before the end comes, there's going to be wars, there's going to be famines, there's going to be people hating Christians and people betraying one another and false Christs and false teachers. But it's not the end yet. The gospel must go to every nation before the end will come. Let me continue on in verse 23. Then if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise, and they will show great signs and wonders. They'll do miracles to deceive you, if possible, to deceive even the elect, even the ones who are really in the know. See, I've told you beforehand, so prepare for it. Therefore, if they say to you, look, he's in the desert, Jesus is in the desert, let's go, don't go out. Or if he says, look, he's in the inner rooms, let's go, don't do it. Don't believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Remember what I told you? Jesus will come back. There will be the voice of the archangel and the sound of the trumpet, and everybody all over the world at the same time will hear it, and they will know something is happening. Jesus is coming back. Immediately, in verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven. Wow, that sounds really bad. And the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then, after all of that, then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. And then all of the tribes of the earth will mourn. They'll be sad. Oh, why did I reject the gospel? And they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect, those who he has chosen, believers from all the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. So all of the believers, he's talking about the resurrection that will come. Resurrected from all over the world, from Africa and Europe and Asia, North America, South America, the islands. All who have died, who have been Christians, they will all be resurrected. Their new body will come forth, and their soul and spirit will join with their new body. Let's look at verse 36. But of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels, but my Father only. Heavenly Father is the only one who knows the day when Jesus is going to come back. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. People will be living day to day. You and I will be telling them about Jesus, but they will be living day to day. And then just like in the days of Noah and the ark, and then suddenly, boom, the door to the ark closes, and there's no more opportunity to get into safety. Living day to day, and suddenly there's the voice of the archangel, there's the sound of the trumpet. Jesus is coming back. Time is finished as we know it. There's no more opportunity. Then two men will be in the field. One will be taken, and the other will be left. Two women will be grinding at the mill. One will be taken, and the other left. Remember what Jesus said, or what Paul said in 1 Thessalonians 4? He said that those who are dead, they will be resurrected and go to meet the Lord in the air. Those who are still alive on the earth will be working in the factory, will be working at whatever their job, watching TV, playing sport, and suddenly they're going to be gone. They're going to go up and meet Jesus in the air. Two women will be grinding at the mill. One will be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know the hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour when you don't expect. So we're talking about death, resurrection, judgment, what happens after a person dies. And so everybody is waiting. Those waiting in heaven, those waiting in Hades. They're waiting for the last day when Jesus will come back. But there will be some things that happen before those last days. And if we pay attention as believers, we know that I think it might be getting close, because I see some of these things happening, and we live our life day to day as if he were coming back tomorrow. All right, next lesson we'll talk about judgment or resurrection.